Hey, it's Neil. What does a light rehab really mean? Well, I get this one thrown around a lot. So I'm decoding what a light rehab really means for those who fix and flip houses or for those who are executing our BRRRR methodology. You might be underestimating your budget or worse, screwing up your timeline. So let's fix that. So a light rehab. What does this mean? Cosmetic rehab, light rehab, I use those words interchangeably versus a full scale rehab. Well, almost always, because I see this from dealing with dozens and dozens and dozens of borrowers and understanding their scope of work and their budget. A light rehab almost always is sub $30,000. Consists of flooring, paint. You're going to end up with light fixtures, hardware, and then maybe one thing that needs a little more work. Maybe it's a furnace, maybe it's a roof, maybe it's a central air, maybe it's an electrical panel. Typically, it's one thing that stands out just a bit more than others. What it isn't is a full on 8 week, 50 to $100,000 deal. It is simplistic, limited scope of work, and this is where speed matters most because we're only spending 25 or 30 grand. Time matters a lot. You got to get that thing moved and get it back on the market. One thing I see people screw up on, and it's something to be mindful of, is being too cheap, not changing out the fixtures, not changing out the hardware. Hardware could just be door frame hardware, door hardware. Change that thing to brushed nickel or whatever color best suits that property. But I've seen people leave certain sections of the house old school, leave it the same, not changing out that light fixture. A $20 light fixture from Menards does wonder from the house just to make it look newer. So you don't want that. What you want instead is a tight scope of work, understanding what that looks like from a time frame standpoint and getting those contractors moving. Lastly, the alignment of your scope of work with your exit strategy is imperative. Well, what do I mean by that? When you're flipping a home versus when you're doing a BRRRR strategy, they may look different. Some people on the rental side like to arguably over improve a property or make it tenant proof. They may put more money into that property to let that flooring last longer, let that countertop last longer, to really strengthen, to make that property more durable against the wear and tear that's going to be inevitable when you stick a tenant in there. Others, on the other hand, like to go a little thinner. They want to spend less money. That's okay. It's just understanding when you have a different scope of work, when you're different alignment for the exit, make sure your scope of work aligns with that. So for some people, it's exactly the same. For others, they go one way or another, spend less or spend more, depending if you're going to keep that thing as a rental. So a light rehab, it can be a huge win when you plan properly. You fund that thing smartly and you move on a very tight time frame. And when you're ready for your next deal, you want to get instantly pre-approved, I dropped a link below so you can do just that.